in the mid 1900s, about 85% of children grew up with two parents in the household. Fast forward to 2020, only about 70% of children grow up with two parents in the household. For black children, that number is somewhere closer to about 37% of children growing up with two parents in the household before the age of 18. Now, I have three things that my guys can do to help combat this issue and push the generations forward moving ahead. But first, I got some statistics that I want to get into. Tune in. So, this is an article on family structure, right? So this here, I'm going to read the first half of this first paragraph so you guys can see why single parent households is such a problem in America or anywhere. Now, this is the percent distribution of U.S. children by number of parents in the household. On average, children from disrupted or never married families are more likely to use alcohol and drugs, to become teen parents, to achieve lower earnings, and are less likely to attain a high school diploma than those from intact families with both biological parents, even after controlling for other background factors, including race and family socioeconomic status. So this says that it doesn't matter how much money you have or what your race is, when you grow up with just one parent in a household, it can affect you in these ways, right? And I don't think any of us want this for our children. So 1940, this is a chart here, percent distribution of U.S. children under the age of 18 by number of parents in the household, right? By race and ethnicity. So we'll look at all children, white children, black children, and that'll pretty much be it. They didn't have stats back then. But if you look at all children, back in 1940, as I said, the mid 1900s, two parents, 85%. Fast forward, it drops 1994, 70%. And it's a little interesting because now it's 2020 and we're still hovering around that 70% mark. But I have another article that's going to show us something more up to date. If you look at white children, it's only been a 10% drop off between 1940 to 1994. Now, if you look at black children, we already started at 67% in the 1940s, and it dropped a staggering 30%, approximately, a little over 30%. Right? Now, if we look at these numbers, let's look at this. 1960, we had our first 10% drop off. 1960. What happened in 1960? Well, 1960 was pretty much post-war. More women were getting into the workforce. Not only that, but you also had jobs beginning to globalize, and industrialization begin. It's made, a big trend. A lot of low-skilled jobs were being pushed overseas, right? So now you have a lot of black men who didn't have a lot of skills. Now the jobs that they do have that do allow them to provide for their families with just one income is now taken away. Then 1980, another 10% drop off. Here comes the crack era. Boom, 1990, we feel the effects of it, another 10% drop off. Not only that, but we also have the war on drugs, incarceration, mass incarceration, right? President who's in office today, 1994, what was that, 1994? Probably got a little bit worse before it got better, between 1994 and the 2000s, I'll say that. But mother only, half of children were being raised by their mother only, right? 1 in 2. Now, what does this do for your society? What does this do for society? It creates imbalance, right? And what do I mean when I say imbalance? When a boy grows up and he doesn't see an example of how a woman is supposed to interact with a man as her husband, and a man is supposed to interact with a woman as his wife, or even just in a relationship, especially if those things are not talked about in the household, you're going to have relationship issues. You're going to have traumas, and then you dealing with these things. A man is supposed to be in the midst for structure, a woman to provide nurturing. Number of children living only with their mothers has doubled in past 50 years. So living arrangements of children under 18 by race and Hispanic origin. Right? So now we look at white, non-Hispanic. Living with two parents is the light blue. married, that is. Two parents not married is the darker blue. Living with the mother only is the orange. Living with the father only is the green. And living with no parent, which is either foster or grandparent, is going to be gray. I'm sorry. Right. So now, white non-Hispanic, right? 75% are growing up with two parents in a household. Right. Only 13% mother only. Now, if you look at the black alone, pretty much only 38% of black children grow up with two parents in a household married. Now, let's look at this number here. This orange, mother only. That's still approximately half of children. So what does that do for daughters? May have daddy issues. What does that look like? How does that manifest itself in relationships? And then boys who don't know how to take instruction from a masculine figure because they never had that structure in their life. This is definitely a problem because society is gradually getting worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. And this two-parent households has been decreasing. I say that there's a correlation. Now, as I mentioned, I have 3 things that my guys can do to help push the generations forward and slowly combat this issue of single-parent households. 1, strap up. That one you already know. That girl you about to go see tonight, put a rubber on, bro. Especially if you know it's only transactional. 2, better decision making with the women that we choose. Right? You got to ask questions of your woman and vet her. You got to make sure that she is emotionally and mentally capable and stable enough to have children. If anything should happen and y'all part ways, that she's not going to use the child as a weapon against you. You have to know that she doesn't have some great deal of unhealed trauma, because she's going to inflict that on you guys' relationship, and she's going to inflict that on her and the child's relationship. 3, be accountable for your actions once the mistake is made. So after you know that you have impregnated a woman, make sure y'all can co-parent and work together to raise that child. A co-parenting situation, it doesn't beat 2 parents in the same household, but it beats the child only knowing one parent, because now that's a different type of trauma. But those are the 3 things, guys. So make sure you out there strapping up, making sure you out there choosing the right women, and make sure you out there co-parenting and being accountable for the mistakes that you make once they already made. All right? But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. You might have more for us to combat this issue. Let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Peace and love to you.